Hi, I'm Dr. Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer, and I hear you and I've got you. Think of me as the one-stop shop for all your midlife needs. I'm a psychologist, registered dietitian, nutritionist, board-certified health and wellness coach, and mindful self-compassion teacher. I'm also an author and podcast host with over 30 years of experience empowering midlife women. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife. I'm Dr. Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer. I am thrilled that you are here today because today we are talking about how to become empowered and reclaim your midlife well-being. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I feel like midlife is really the time to shine a lens on what's working, what's not working, really focus on your midlife body. I know for me right now, I am focusing so much on getting stronger in my body, my mind, my spirit, just really rocking my midlife. And we are going to give you so many tips and techniques that are really going to help you to become empowered, to find power from within so you can reclaim your midlife well-being. I want to let you know, if you have a question or comment, you can always reach out to me at themidlifewhisperer.com. That's themidlifewhisperer.com. I've got a free gift for you there, which is Rock Your Midlife 10 Tips, as well as a link if you're interested in buying my book, Rock Your Midlife, to really help you to make your next chapter your best chapter. And midlife is the time to take charge of your health so you can maximize your well-being, prevent disease, and ensure you experience a fulfilling, healthy life as you age. And taking charge of your health also empowers you to make informed decisions and take action that promotes health and vitality. If you're not sure where to start, today's show is going to provide you with the keys you need to become the authority of your well-being and transform your body from a place of self-love, not self-loathing, right? How many of us get into that self-loathing place where we're like, oh my God, can't believe what the scale says. I can't believe what's happening with my waistline. And we beat ourselves up. And I'm here to say that loving yourself first is such the key to transforming your midlife well-being. And my guest today is Master Certified a life coach and podcaster, Elizabeth Sherman. She's going to share how to manage menopause and other midlife stressors and reclaim your well-being without crazy diets or soul-crushing workouts. So wherever you are on your wellness journey, you're going to get valuable tips and techniques that will empower you to rock your midlife. And I wanted to start off by talking about why. What's your why for changing your health at midlife? So take a moment and think about, gosh, why do I want to change my health and well-being at midlife? And I want to give you 6 reasons that you might want to do this. Number 1, prevention of chronic diseases. Many chronic diseases, including heart disease, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, really have their roots in an unhealthy lifestyle. And midlife is a time that if your physician starting to tell you that your blood labs are looking a little wonky or you don't have the energy that you once did, it's the time to really take charge and prevent those types of diseases. And I just actually wanted to read this great quote from John Kabat-Zinn. If you're thinking, oh my God, it's too late for me. He says, as long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than there is wrong, no matter how ill or how hopeless you may feel. But if you hope to mobilize your inner capacities for growth and for healing and to take charge in your life on a new level, a certain kind of effort and energy on your part will be required. It takes conscious effort on your part to move in a direction of healing and inner peace. But if you're breathing, you've got trillions and trillions of cells that are rocking it. And so there is so much you can do by changing your lifestyle. So number 1, you're going to prevent the diseases, because we know most of these chronic diseases have their roots in stress and inflammation. And there's so much you can do by changing your lifestyle. We're going to get into that in a few moments. Increase your life expectancy. I don't know about you, but I want to be healthy at 100. I have a great man in my life, and we're really working together to make that dream a reality. We are super active. We grow most of our food. We keep our vibes super high because we want to live another 40 years or so. Number 3, maintain a physical and mental well-being. Your body and your mind are interrelated. So when you are taking charge of your health, first of all, you're feeling like, oh my God, I'm empowered. I know so many times people go to physicians and I'm like, my God, how did this happen? Well, how have you been treating your body? It's not like these chronic diseases or this low energy just pops out of nowhere. if you want to maintain your physical and mental well-being, midlife is a crucial period when you can kind of reverse a lot of these age-related changes in your physical and mental health. Number 4, be a role model for future generations. Like, I'm not a grandmother yet. I'm kind of like, if my kids and stepkids are listening, guys, get busy. Come on, we're ready to be grandparents. But it's so cool to be a role model. I know my parents, who are 91 and almost 93, are a role model for me. I hope I'm a good role model for my kids, but let's be a role model for future generations. So it's a great way to be examples for your grandchildren by prioritizing your well-being, by making good selections in terms of what you eat, how you move, how you deal with stress, how you take care of yourself. You can really inspire other people and also inspire people on your community. I think it's so cool that we have social media. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, where we can show people how to rock midlife and how to be well-beings as we age, how to really live a high vibe midlife. Number 5, financial implications. When you are ill, even if you don't have that big a deductible, it definitely takes a bite in your finances. Maybe you won't be able to work at the same capacity, or you'll have medical bills. So it's really important for your finances to take charge of your health. Your health really is your wealth. And finally, adaptation to life transition. So midlife brings significant life transitions like children leaving home, empty nest, career changes, taking care of aging parents. There's a lot to balance. There's a lot of moving parts. And if you're taking care of your health, you're going to be so much better at dealing with the stress. You're going to sleep better at night. You're going to feel better. You're going to really have so many more resources to take care of yourself. So just a little inspiration to get you started. Let me know, reach out to me, leave a review of the podcast. Let me know why you want to change your midlife health, why you want to get inspired and empowered to feel the best you've ever felt. And I'm here to say that even if you have had years of dealing with maybe chronic pain or illness, or you're dealing with menopause, stress, you can turn it around by empowering yourself, by taking steps. It can be as small as having an apple in the afternoon and a glass of water, as a snack, a few almonds instead of, a candy bar and a Coca-Cola. It can be as simple as making sure that your lights off by 11 o'clock. So you're getting 7 or 8 hours of good quality sleep, that you're walking for 20, 30 minutes every day, that you're standing during the day instead of sitting all day. There's so much that you can do. So without further ado, I want to introduce my amazing guest. I hope you're watching because she looks amazing. She is Elizabeth Sherman. She is a master certified health and life coach who helps women in perimenopause and menopause manage their symptoms, as well as all of the other stressful demands that seem to accompany this season of life. Things like the physical changes of menopause and the aging process, the emotional demands that we have as our life changes and our family structures change, the physiological changes of how our body responds to external stimulus and how we respond to those changes, the mental load that we carry, and just that whole balance that we're all trying to juggle and keep things up in the air. And it's a lot to handle. So she's really going to help us. She hosts a weekly podcast called Done with Dieting, which is for women who, in spite of all of these demands, have been socialized to focus on their appearance and putting everybody else first. And she helps women become, I love this, the best supporting actresses in the movie of their own life. Like, who doesn't want to be your own best supporting actor? She's going to tell us how to do that. Welcome to Rock Your Midlife, Elizabeth. So awesome to have you here.
Thanks. You said so many things in your introduction that were just popping off like alarm bells, and not alarm bells, but just things that
resonance.
Exactly. It was perfect. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, well, my pleasure. And I'm so excited to have you here. So I guess my first question is how did you get here? Right? I think so many of us who go into this health and wellness business, we go in to help other people, or maybe we have our own health crisis that sort of spurs us on. Tell us a little bit about your story and what led you to become a wellness coach.
Yeah. So my story actually started in 2001 when my mom passed away from breast cancer. And at the time, I was a high-tech executive and I was doing a lot of traveling. I wasn't paying attention to my health. I didn't really grow up knowing that I needed to pay attention to my health. Like in my family, we were fed, I'm one of 6 kids. And so my mom was like, how do I stretch a buck? And so how do I feed 8 people at the dinner
Lots
table?
of mac and cheese.
Exactly. Like rice with chili and noodles with stuff. And so like that was my approach to food as well. Like, how do I eat as much food as possible? Because it was just, how
Yeah, if you
our
didn't
mindset.
get the food, what
Yeah.
number are you in the 6?
I'm number 6. I'm the youngest.
Oh my goodness. So it's like, I better get my fill and there might not be enough left for me.
Exactly. Although I have to say that I never went hungry. And it was just a mindset of, are you full at the dinner table? Not have you had enough? Like just that simple tweak was very different. And so anyway, when my mom was in her later stages of cancer, I remember going home and typing into the computer, how do I not get breast cancer? Because watching her go through treatment, watching her go through the death process, sorry to be so blunt, but watch her body deteriorate, I was like, how do I prevent that from happening to me? And that was actually the very beginning of my process. I had already started exercising. However, I really didn't know that being overweight was a huge risk factor for many lifestyle diseases. And so that was really the beginning of my journey to start to become healthier. And I would love to say to everyone watching right now that in doing so, I immediately changed my eating habits and my exercise habits, and I became this, beacon of health, but I didn't. I played the magic pill for a while, like searching for the magic pill in magazines and trying different techniques and really trying to skirt like basic science, right? And
Right. Yeah. There
thinking
is
that
no, if you're listening, there is no magic pill.
there is no
Really,
magic pill.
the magic pill is, eat more plants, move your
Yes.
body, get your
Yes.
sleep, certainly good supplementation. But yeah, that's an intense story. So what made you decide to become a life and health coach?
Oh, so I was in high tech at the time, and I was like, how am I making the world a better place by helping people to, or helping corporations to sell more cars? And I was like, my husband and I do not have children. So, most of us want to leave the world in a better place, or at least I do. I want to leave the world in a better place from when I got it. And so my contribution was, well, if I can help someone, just one person at that point, avoid the disease and avoid what my mom went through, then I will have made the world a better place. And so that's really what started happening. I was going to see a psychologist, probably more as a life coach than as a psychologist. And she was like, I think you would make a really good wellness coach. So this was back in 2005. And no one knew what coaches were at that time. Like coaching wasn't a thing. And everyone knew what personal trainers were, what nutritionists were, what dietitians were, but no one knew what coaching did. And so I actually got my certification together for personal training and for nutrition and for wellness coaching, but I didn't do anything with it because I didn't know how to tell people how I could help them. And so for the longest time, I actually was, I say, just a personal trainer because that's all I knew how to market myself as. And it was really frustrating for me because my clients would start to get really good results through eating better, through exercising, and then something would happen in their lives that would pull the rug out from under them. And that something was usually stress related. So their job would get busy. It would become the holidays. They would start having marital problems, or their kid would get in trouble, or their parents needed more support, right? All of those things that happen in midlife. And as a personal trainer and nutritionist, I didn't know how to coach my clients on that. And so it wasn't until I found life coaching myself that I realized, oh, we can actually preventively help people manage their problems and manage their stress through coaching. And that's when my business really changed. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I have a very similar story. I became a dietitian and I was taught to tell people, eat this, don't eat that. And nobody
Yep.
changed. And then I became a personal fitness trainer like you. And
Yep.
what happened, I was doing my personal fitness trainer. I found well coaches. So I became, a certified health and wellness coach.
Yeah.
And it was great because you're spending an hour a day, an hour with people, maybe 2-3 times a week, and really utilizing my coaching skills. And it was like, oh yeah, light bulb, like this is the missing thing. That's all of this subconscious things. Why are people sabotaging themselves? How to help people deal with stress. So I love that. We have very, very similar paths. So let's get right into how we can help the people who are listening.
Yeah.
So how are our physical, emotional changes of aging and menopause, how do they relate to our health habits? So obviously we're going through menopause, so we're, sleepless nights, and depression is certainly higher at midlife, and we're dealing with things like hot flashes and just not having the energy. How does that relate to our health habits?
Yeah. So I think that for many women in midlife, we have started out our lives having a very poor relationship with food, with exercise, with our bodies, with sleep. And I say sleep because most of us love sleep, but we never, like for myself, I loved sleep. I was able to sleep anywhere at any time. And so I took for granted putting together like a sleep routine and having really good sleep hygiene. And so it wasn't until I became, in midlife and started having sleep disruptions that I started paying attention to, oh, maybe I need to spend a little bit more time carving out like how important sleep is. What are the things that I'm doing beforehand so that I can create a restful sleep environment for myself? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really true. Sleep is so much at the heart of issues with health and wellness. Like when we're sleeping, our body is repairing itself, our hormones are resetting. So, poor sleep is associated with everything from heart disease, cancer, weight gain, all of the things we're trying to avoid. So if someone's listening, what are your top tips in helping with that sleep hygiene and helping deal with those? I think a lot of people are, kept up at night by all of the physiological and emotional changes and all of the stress, and it's sort of like they lie down, they're exhausted, and then all of the issues start to crop up and bubble up.
Yeah. So our health habits actually play onto one another, right? So we know that our eating will impact our sleep. We know that exercising or not exercising will impact our sleep. We know that our stress will impact our sleep. And we know that having good quality sleep impacts our choices when we make choices to eat. We know that not having good quality sleep will impact our energy levels to, whether we want to exercise or not. And we also know that our sleep will impact our stress. So all of these habits will interplay with one another. Now, what I find with many of my clients is if we can create a solid sleep routine, and when I talk about sleep routines here, I'm not talking about candles and baths and all of that spa-like stuff, which is great. If you like doing that,
And you have the time.
Exactly. I don't want to clean out my bathtub. And so what I talk about when I'm talking about sleep routines are doing those things repetitively at night that get your brain ready for sleep. So every night I will put out my exercise clothes for the morning. I will make the coffee pot. I will do all of these things in order that tell my brain, okay, brain, it's time to go to sleep. It also helps that I try not to drink alcohol at night because I notice that as I've gotten older, alcohol really disrupts my sleep. And also that I try to exercise during the day. And those two actually kind of go together because for many people, when we don't exercise during the day, we go to bed and our brain is exhausted, but our bodies still have all of this energy. And so we drink alcohol to slow ourselves down, right? To take the edge off. And that creates a 1-2 punch, because then we go to bed and we're wired, but we're tired. So we have insomnia at that point.
Yeah, I'm
And
glad you brought
so,
up the alcohol too, because
yeah,
it's so interesting. I've had a lot of midlife menopause experts on, and there seems to be the thread of we don't metabolize alcohol the same way once we hit midlife, go through menopause. I know myself, I used
yeah.
to enjoy alcohol, and now it just makes me feel terrible, like kind of just low energy. It doesn't get the same score. So that's really important to watch the alcohol. Also, I think it's another thing that's super important is not eating late at night, because really your body needs to rest. So trying to stop eating by 7, turning off your screens is really important. Doing a mind dump. So if you're super stressed out, just write down everything that's stressing. I love what you said about like putting your exercise clothing out and coffee. So you know, like, okay, that's taken care of in the morning. It's really great too, to just, again, getting in a routine, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. And I love, if you're going through the hot flashes, have a squirt bottle filled with like lemon water, just water mixed with a little bit of lemon essential oil or lemon juice, and just squirt yourself with it when you wake up. I like to sleep in the buff or in wicking pajamas too. I think that's really helpful. So sleep is super helpful. Then that exercise tip is great too, to get some movement during the day, but not super close to bedtime, because that will rev you up when you want to slow down. So let's talk a little bit about stress management. So what's the latest research and evidence-based practices on how to de-stress, manage your stress when you're going through midlife?
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that women in midlife should not feel like anxiety or depression, that those are things that naturally occur. And I don't want to say that you feel anxiety, but I think it's just the body's neurotransmitters that make it feel like you have anxiety. What I find with a lot of my clients is that half of our anxiety is actually felt through just natural hormone shifting, and the other half is through our worries. So the way that we think about our problems. And one of the techniques that I use with my clients is something called the think, feel, act cycle. It's part of the cognitive behavior therapy. And what the think, feel, act cycle states is that everything that we do because of how we feel or how we think we're going to feel when we do the thing. So putting this into context is a lot of the listeners are probably thinking, why did I eat that chocolate last night when I know that I'm trying to stay away from it? Or why did I not exercise when I know that I'm trying to start exercising? And what we can do is we can look at all of our past behavior through something called the motivational triad. The motivational triad is actually a Tony Robbins model, which says that everything we do as humans, we make decisions from the motivational triad, which states we're constantly seeking pleasure, we're all avoiding pain, and we're doing it as efficiently as possible. So when you're sitting on the couch and you're like, oh, it's time for me to go exercise, well, the couch is really comfortable. And exercising, not that it's difficult, but it takes energy, and you might get sweaty, which none of us, I don't really enjoy sweating. And so it takes energy, and it's going to be uncomfortable a little bit. And so it's easier to blow off that exercise than to actually go do it. And the same thing goes with eating or overeating treats. Like when we feel anxiety, we may have a history of knowing that chocolate will make it taste better. Or maybe it doesn't, but at least it's going to feel better in the moment.
Right. It
And so,
distracts us from what's bothering
exactly.
us. And, it's
Yeah.
also when we're getting into this addictive behavior, what's happening is we're actually addicted to the anxiety. It's like we know what that feels like, and we keep
Yeah.
going to that place because it's like our neurons that wire together fire together. So it's like, oh yeah, this is anxiety. This is familiar. My brain is used to this state. And then like when I feel this way, I have the chocolate. And
Exactly.
so you're needing to create these new neural pathways that lead to new behaviors, which you're saying with the cognitive behavior piece, where it's like, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety and I want chocolate, but I'm going to use my big mammalian frontal cortex. And by the way, I told my coach that I was going to exercise, 3 days a week for a half an hour. So I'm going to deal with the anxiety through exercise. And unlike the chocolate, the exercise is actually going to really help me to burn off the anxiety. Whereas with the chocolate, you might feel better for the moment or two when you're having that, that Snickers bar. But then after you've had the Snickers bar, you want another one to deal with it. And you get into this addictive behavior. Whereas with the exercise, you're building new neural pathways, you're building new physiological connections. You're actually feeling good. So I think bringing,
Mhm.
this lens of observation. Oh yeah, this is anxiety. Okay, what could I do differently instead of the chocolate, like changing that behavior? So I'm loving that you're bringing up this triad and ways that we can kind of keep ourselves motivated. So how do you help your clients stay motivated? So when you have that client's like, oh my God, I know, Elizabeth, I told you I was supposed to exercise, 3 times this week, but I was watching Chimp Empire on Netflix, right? And I didn't do it. I got
Yeah,
addicted because those, I have to say, when I stay away from Netflix most of the time, because it's so addicting. You could sit there all night and just watch the
absolutely.
show after show and you feel really good and you're kind
Mhm.
of distracted. But what do you tell your client when they don't do what you agreed upon in terms of their goals for the week?
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to say that everyone walks around wanting to feel motivated all the time. Motivation is a feeling, just like sadness is a feeling, like love is a feeling, like anger is a feeling. And so we cannot expect that we are going to feel motivated all the time to go exercise. Yet somehow we do expect to feel motivated. And so where I go with that is, one, understanding that there are a lot of other emotions that will get the job done, like feeling determined, feeling committed to our goal, feeling belief that it's not going to be as bad. So I teach them to do a lot of internal self-talk. But the other piece to that is teaching my clients to really be able to learn how to have their own back. And what I mean by that is not biting off more than you can chew. So oftentimes, instead of, like, if my client isn't working out at all right now, and we say, okay, you're going to exercise 3 times a week, you're going to walk 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Everyone's brain is like, oh, that should be easy, right? We all think that it should be easy. But if we haven't been doing that, it's not actually going to be easy. And our brain is going to say, oh, well, I don't want to do it today because I'm already dressed up, or I don't want to, blah, 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 whatever, this thing got in the way. And so I'm going to do it tomorrow. And then the next day comes, and then they have to push it off again, and so on and so forth, until it comes down to the very last days, and they feel anxious because they've blown it off. So instead, we take really small baby steps. So maybe the first week is walking for 5 minutes, something that is so low bar that they can't possibly not do it. And what that does is it starts to build self-trust. It starts to build self-trust with the commitment of, I said I was going to do this, and I'm actually following through. And so then we will expand the goal as we move through. Now, a lot of people listening and watching right now are probably thinking, 5 minutes a day, that's not going to do anything. Well, okay, maybe not, but it might. And it might help you where doing nothing isn't, right?
Right. And that's also going to build a self-efficacy. So
Yeah.
this belief that I can do it. And honestly, once you put your sneakers on and you're out the door and you're out in nature and you're enjoying yourself, you're going to do more time. Like I tell my clients sometimes, we'll just do one push-up, right? If you're down there on the floor doing push-ups, you're going to do more push-ups, just carry an apple in your bag. Well, if you got an apple in your bag, you're going to grab it and have a snack. So I love that start small, don't beat yourself up, because it's not like this, oh yeah, I'm going to do 10,000 steps every day. and work up. So let's talk a little bit about how do these health habits, so getting sleep, we haven't talked too much about nutrition, but I've talked about nutrition a lot, which is basically like eating more plants, eating a whole foods, plant-based diet, eating less till you're satisfied rather than stuffed, maybe, smart supplementation, getting good night's sleep, dealing with your stress, moving your body every day. How are all of these health habits going to impact menopausal symptoms?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer to that is everyone's body is completely different. So one of the first things that I teach my clients is to start listening to their body. As younger women, we are taught to not pay attention to our body. We're taught to follow the diet, right? We're taught like, oh, you don't need to eat. You're just thirsty. Just drink some water, right? And that in itself starts the disconnection from our body. And so for many of my clients, and this was true for myself as well, that I was completely unaware of the emotions that were happening in my body and how food made me feel. And so that's a huge process of my coaching with my clients, is really being able to understand how food makes you feel. And so we talked about sleep earlier. So what we can start doing is we can start connecting the dots between what I'm eating and what happens later. So one of the things that I noticed with myself was that as I was eating starches in my evening meal, that actually gave me hot flashes and night sweats. So I took the starches away from my evening meal, and those went away. And then the next stage was starting to add some of them back in to find out, were there certain starches that gave me hot flashes, or was it all starches? And then the same thing happened actually when I was going through menopause, that I started getting hot flashes during the day. And so I removed, just for a period of time, all sugar and white flour from my diet. And then I started adding it back in again. And so now I can have some sugar and flour in my diet, but I can't have all the sugar and flour in my diet. And so, because what happens then is if I have too much, then I start getting hot flashes again. So I just back off a little bit. And so those are just some of the techniques that I use with my clients in terms of eating and how to manage your menopausal symptoms.
Yeah, that's a great tip and great point in general. We can get a little bit more into, because I know you're also certified in terms of being a feminist coach, but this idea, and as a nutritionist, I was always taught, giving people a piece of paper and you eat according to the piece of paper. And if you eat according to the piece of paper, whether that is 1,200 calories, 600 calories, whatever it is, or macros, whatever that is, you've done your food journals, all that, then you've been good. And we totally disconnect from our bodies. And the cool thing that happens is, when you start to listen to your body, you actually crave the healthy foods because you want to feel good, but it doesn't mean you don't eat, the sugar and sweets. Like the other night, it was the 4th of July and there was a food truck that had like maple creamies. I hadn't had a creamy yet this year and I don't eat very much sugar at all. And I was looking at it, I was like, oh my God, I want a hot fudge sundae. But, I thought about it and I thought, well, which decision am I going to like better after I've eaten it? And so what my man and I ended up doing is we split a regular creamy, not a sundae, and it was absolutely delicious. We enjoyed every bite and I felt great afterwards. Now I know if I had just said, I want that hot fudge sundae to myself, I would have just felt kind of bleh, meh, so I think it's amazing. The beauty of this is you get away from this deprivation diet mentality, which is totally BS. It's the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that wants you to fail over and over and over again. So you keep coming back to the BS solutions and it creates so much stress. The research really shows that the calorie deprivation, when that happens, your cortisol levels go up. That's the hormone of fight and flight. We've been talking a lot about stress. You get stressed out literally because your body thinks that there's a famine. So it revs up appetite, revs up. Let's keep that body fat around the middle so that we have the fuel for emergencies. And also your psychological stress goes up and all you're thinking about is food, which is absolutely what you do not want, when you're trying to lose weight or maintain your weight. So I love that you're saying, like, get to know your body, get to know food, and, and be okay with your midlife body. So let's talk a little bit about aging, because off the, before we were actually started the podcast, we were talking about, I know you've got a birthday coming up and you were a little bit like, oh my goodness. So what is that? Do you think that, when you think about, oh my God, I'm like mid-50s and I just turned 60, that we
Yeah.
sort of like give ourselves like, oh my God, I'm not so good anymore, when this is just a natural part of the process. I know you had a little bit of an aha moment. So talk a little bit about that and how you're handling kind of, because you look amazing. You're obviously super fit. And I think want to be role models for women who are listening and saying that, you don't need to be your 26-year-old self, and you can be beautiful and sexy and enjoy your life and have energy in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. But share a little bit about what that was like for you to sort of think about your age.
Yeah, well, it's ageism is what it is. And I started reading this book called This Chair Rocks.
Oh, I love that book. She's amazing.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, she talks about the U curve of happiness, right? That I think that we all think that when we turn 50 or 60 or get older, that it's all downhill from there. And what this book, or the U curve of happiness, states is that we are least happy in our midlife, and then afterwards we start to become happier again at the both ends of our life, when we're first young, and then as we grow older, we start to become happier again. And so I think that it's really changing that conversation that we have as women. We buy into the internalized oppression that we are only valued for our appearance, and that being old is not beautiful. I mean, and no one would say that today, right? No one would actually mutter those words of, I'm not beautiful, but maybe we're thinking it in the back of our heads. We certainly notice that as we get older, as we walk down the street, that we don't get the male gaze as much. People don't look at us as much. We start to feel invisible. And that's where the best supporting actress of your life comes in, which is so many of my clients, I notice that they are out supporting other people in their lives, and they're taking a back seat in their lives. They're not becoming the star role in their lives, right? They're just the supporting actress. And so we really want, and we've been socialized to believe that we shouldn't ask for more, that we should be the helper, that it's better to give than receive. And so all of this plays into not taking ownership of where our life is going. And really, I find that for so many women, because I think of the drop in estrogen that happens when we get into midlife and go into menopause, that so many women are like, wait a minute, I have been the nice girl for how long? Now I need to do what's right for me. And right,
It's a very
just
empowering time to let the people pleaser
exactly.
go, let that good girl go, just say, yeah. And I see that with so many women, whether that's at a job, just saying, you know what, I'm so done with this corporate gig and looking for ways of how do I support myself financially. I'm always so amazed at the BS stories that come through when I'm coaching people, these stories about, I can't find another job and I don't have any skills, or even if I'm going to end this marriage because it's not working for me, or I just want to like move to, the south of France and open up a bakery because it's going to make me happy. These things are, what are people going to say? How am I going to support myself? What's going to happen? And it's a powerful time to look at that lens and just forget about what our culture says. And that's changing, which is awesome that
It is.
people like ourselves, there's so many celebrities who are coming out, so many celebrities who are, also, going gray, letting their natural hair color shine, which, whatever you want to do is totally fine. But just saying, I'm not invisible anymore. And that sort of self-concept. I'm here to say too, the most important thing about you is not your looks. We have been
Right.
socialized, and then we're socialized that if we're not thin and we're not young, then we're not acceptable in terms of our looks. And then we start feeling bad about ourselves and start feeling invisible, and we're sending that vibe out there. And so we're attracting that. And then not only we're not the best supporting actress, but we're in the audience, eating the popcorn and the milk duds
Exactly.
because
Yeah,
we're
because
so
like
feeling bad.
if you
And the
find
alcohol.
that you are not attractive, then what difference does it make if you eat another cookie or eat the popcorn or do any of these things for your health? Your health doesn't become important to you because, what difference does it make? It's not supporting those people around you.
Right.
And
And if you're
one
just
thing that
eating
I
right, right, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. One thing that I just need to put in here is I abhor that analogy of you need to put on your own oxygen mask so that you can help others. I just need to throw this out there that you need to put on your own oxygen mask and practice self-care because you're a freaking human being and you deserve to take care of yourself, not so that you can take care of other people. Okay, I'm off my
Yeah,
soapbox.
that's okay. No, I love that. I know we could go on and talking for hours because we're both on the same page about that. I love that, taking another look at that, do that because you are human, you deserve your love, you deserve your compassion. And I think that what I wanted to say where I was jumping in there, getting all excited was that when you do I'm eating these things and I'm moving my body to lose weight and look a certain way, when that doesn't work, and let's face it, it's like we have a genetic disposition. This was a big aha moment for me, realizing just like you wouldn't have a Great Dane become a Chihuahua if you are naturally a certain body size and shape. And let's face it, even if you take great care of yourself, a lot of women do naturally gain weight. Body shifts as
Mhm.
the hormones shift. You can avoid some of it. It's not, you can't blame it all on the hormones and menopause, but some of it does happen. But if you're trying to, get down to a size 4, size 2, whatever you're telling yourself, and you don't do it, you're going to go back to the old eating ways. You get on this horrible chronic diet merry-go-round where you are depriving yourself and you get hungry and then you binge and then you diet again. And it's just crazy what that does to your body and your brain. So I'm glad that we can sort of shine some light on it. So just before we finish today, I want to talk a little bit about body image. So my
Yeah.
way of helping women deal with body image, similar to yours, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, doing the self-care, and certainly practicing self-compassion because it does reduce body shame, body dissatisfaction, self-worth based on appearance, which we just talked about, improves body appreciation. How do you help women with negative body image or improve
Yeah,
their body
good
image?
question. And this actually ties into something that I was thinking about as you were just talking, which is I think that there's like this intersection of habits and body image. Okay. So the more strict we are, the happier that we might be with our body, right? Because it's socially acceptable, it's smaller. And for men and women, we've learned this diet of deprivation, and it's just not sustainable. And so for my clients, what I do is I show them the intersection. Okay, so what are the habits that you are willing to do that make you look and feel good enough? And then the rest of it, we're going to coach on body image, because it's not fair for you to beat yourself up, because we've been dancing around the inner critic today. And so it's not fair to beat yourself up about the way that your body looks if you are unwilling to do the things that it takes. And I say unwilling, I don't like that word, but unwilling to do the things that it takes for your body to become and maintain a certain size. Like, it doesn't make any sense for you to beat yourself up about your body's size on that. Does that
Right.
make
No, that
sense?
makes sense. I mean, and the other thing too is that body image has nothing to do with your body. Your body
No.
image is in your mind. And so I
Yeah.
know myself, when I was a personal fitness trainer working out 4 to 6 hours a day, I think my body fat percentage was probably like 13, 14. I hated my body. We all hated our body. My clients, we all were like in this, you've got to get off the hamster wheel that says, I'm running so fast, I'm eating so little, and throw away the BS stories that small is somehow better, that you're somehow a better, more worthy person because you're a size 0. Like, let's throw that out. Let's throw that out. And let's even forget about measuring yourself by the scale, by the size of your clothing. I mean, I think that can be a metric that can be helpful as an outcome, but to judge yourself. And I think what you're saying is that throw out that self-critic unless you're willing to go to these extremes, but that which may not even work because it's physiologically unhealthy, maybe even unsafe. Again, that metaphor of trying to turn a Great Dane into a Chihuahua. It's
Exactly.
just not going to work.
Yeah. And we are taught that only certain body sizes and shapes are attractive. And if your body is outside of that, which what we're taught is an attractive body shape, like I grew up with 17 magazine and Cosmopolitan, like that was just one small body shape and color and all of that. And so many of us are outside of that. And so being able to just appreciate what your body does. And I don't actually go to self-love or body love. I think that for many women, they just want to get rid of that inner critic and get to body neutrality. I mean, we don't teach men, or we don't tell men, you should really love your body. Can you imagine saying that to your partner? Like, no, he would be like,
they're
what?
also not like you look at some midlife men, whether it's, balding or pot belly or all of these things, they're like, still think that they're hot and sexy.
Hot,
right. And so I love that you're sort of looking at this through a feminist coach lens as well, because it really is a feminist issue of we are worthy, not because of how we look, but because we just are human beings and we are worthy to rock our midlife and to feel good and to be healthy. So I know for the self-critic, a lot of what I do with my clients is something called internal family systems. So actually looking at the self-critic, and something we do with mindful self-compassion as well, and saying, how is the self-critic trying to help you? Actually having a dialogue, getting to know, because your self-critic is the internalized voice of early caregivers. Like, how many of us had moms who were really working on staying a certain size, and we saw them and then they wanted us to do it too. So we internalize this voice that you're better, you're more attractive, you're more valuable somehow if you are a certain size, shape, age. And then we get to be adults and we're like, oh my God, I've got to do all of this anti-aging stuff, because if I have wrinkles, if I have gray hair, if I have, a midsection that's a certain size, then I am not worthy. And so I think that the power of hitting midlife, working with coaches is really looking at this and seeing your self-critic and saying, thank you very much, but I'm going to develop this new voice, whether we call it body neutrality, or I like to, the self-compassion voice that says, I care about you and I see that you're suffering around this issue. What do you need right now to feel good in your body? And I think another good piece too is to bring in function over what you look like, your body functioning. You have 32 trillion cells that are all working together to keep you alive. Your body is effing amazing. You've got this divine universal life force that is the same thing that makes the trees grow and the planet move around the earth. All of these things are inside of you. You've got this whole universe. I mean, you are made of star stuff. Everything you eat, it comes from the sun, right? We either eat plants or animals that eat the plants. I mean, you're amazing. If you are listening to this, you are amazing. So I hope that you will take from this conversation just how incredible you are. Stop beating your body up. Feed and care for your body, because it is where you live. So one last question before we dive into where people can connect with you. How are you rocking your midlife? Because I know you live in Mexico. And I know we could talk all day, so we'll have to continue this conversation in part 2, but tell me how you're rocking your midlife, because clearly you look amazing. I can see that you are in a beautiful environment, and I know that you're an expat in Mexico. How are you rocking your midlife, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I would have to say that that's probably about it. Like, I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel like our life here in Mexico is probably set up that, we have everything that we could possibly want. And so just my life isn't coming to an end. It's just extending. And so I think about, like, in the continuum of life, I'm in the middle. And so looking back and seeing everything that I've accomplished up until today, I can probably accomplish so much more in the rest of my life.
I love that. Yeah, it is. And I feel the same way too. I'm just having so much fun and I feel so good. And so thank you so much for sharing. Where can people connect with you? If people want to explore coaching with you, I know you've got some other valuable resources. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So on Facebook, I am at Total Health by Eliz. On Instagram, you can find me at Done with Dieting Podcast. And of course, if you want to listen to my podcast, you can catch that Done with Dieting Podcast with Elizabeth Sherman. And other than that, my website has all of the information that people need. You can listen to my podcasts there if you want to. And that is just elizabethsherman.com.
All right. So go to elizabethsherman.com or the Done with Dieting podcast, Total Health by Eliz. She's awesome. Thank you so much for being here. This has been such a great conversation. The time flew by.
Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Thank you all for listening. I hope that you have gotten some valuable information and just maybe vibed off of our energy. Two midlife women who are really rocking it. If you enjoyed this show, please leave me a review. It helps other women find us as well. And if you want to reach out to me, it's themidlifewhisperer.com. That's themidlifewhisperer.com. There's a contact button there. You can reach me from there, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions you might have. Go out and rock your midlife. Thanks so much for listening. We'll talk with you soon. Hi, I'm Dr. Ellen, the Midlife Whisperer, and I hear you and I've got you. Think of me as the one-stop shop for all your midlife needs. I'm a psychologist, registered dietitian, nutritionist, board-certified health and wellness coach, and mindful self-compassion teacher. I'm also an author and podcast host with over 30 years of experience empowering midlife women.